All right, welcome everybody to our community Zoom call. Tonight's topic is just going to be a general Q&A for the people that showed up. I do have a few messages that I got sent with people that could not show up, so I have those as well that we're going to talk about. But Blake on here was asking me a couple questions. Talked about, one thing, how do we control kind of negative mindsets, negative thoughts. This is kind of part of that self-efficacy question that I ask on my questionnaire anymore is, your belief in kind of what you can do. So I can kind of get a better read on, are you a pessimistic person or an optimistic person? And I think more times than not, I see probably a 75% clip rate of pessimistic people showing up. And so that's why, the coaching aspect, the accountability aspect, these Zoom calls, the podcast, if you're listening to it as a podcast versus the Zoom call, the check-ins, Blake here last week was kind of struggling. So we hopped on a phone call and just kind of dove into things. I think we talked like 45 minutes just about various things. And then, and some of those were actionable steps that he went and put into play this week, which I think he already said were obviously very beneficial. Something he was asking here right before I started recording was, like I said, kind of controlling those negative thoughts or negative beliefs about his actions or whatever the case is, and how do we control that? So a couple of tips that I gave him last week were number one, 5-minute journal. For me, that's a huge thing. You can find on Amazon. Usually, anytime I see somebody kind of struggling with their mindset or whatever the case is, I will send them that link to that 5-minute journal, and it literally takes that long. It takes 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, and it's asking just basic questions like, what are wake up, read a little quote, and then what are three three things that you are grateful for today. And obviously, the first week that's super easy because you can, and I've talked about on the Zoom call before, but you can easily name your spouse, your house, your cat. The next day, your dog, your job, your car, and then obviously as that week kind of goes on and you've used up some of those easy ones, then you got to start kind of digging into the other little positive things that are happening throughout your day, or things that you don't really reflect on that you're super grateful for. And once you speak those out or physically write them down, it already puts you into a little bit better mood. It's also asking you in that gratitude journal, the three things that you want to accomplish today. That could be your workout. That could be, eating 75% of your meal plan. That could be drinking your water that day. It could be saying something, nice to somebody, a compliment that you want to give to somebody and kind of spread that love. It could be literally anything that is positive in your day. Try not to use that as like to-do list. Yeah, Blake's got it out right now. Try not to use it as a necessarily a to-do list. I mean, if you use it as a to-do list, don't put laundry on there, but put something that's truly beneficial to you. And then at nighttime, you reflect on how the day went. I forgot exactly what the questions are on there, but either way, it's asking you kind of what those things are. So anyway, that's a big thing right there. And then, also recognizing progress. So if you're coming to thinking about, a negative thoughts versus positive thoughts and things like that in your head is, if think about kind of where you used to be. If you just had nothing but negative thoughts all day long, and now you are replacing 10% or 20% of those negative thoughts with more positive thoughts, with positive energy, then you're already improving, even though you haven't done a full 180 and kind of, and gotten fully rid of the negative thoughts. It's never going to happen anyway. We all have different negatives and stuff that sometimes we kind of get more focused on. But if you're limiting that, you're reducing that amount of numbers, and that's a big progress. And another reason why you got to give yourself a pat on the back for that. Blake was also just saying, we're kind of talking about just when we have to do something. Blake, what was your question? You were talking about the magnesium. You said you were laying in bed, you're like, damn, I don't want to get up and go make the magnesium and mix that with water. And you kind of got stuck in that thought process of, do I do this? Do I not do this? And you ended up doing it, right?
Yeah, it's the act of just forcing yourself to do something over time. That's the first thing I've really noticed is once you get a couple days in a row of doing the same continuous habit, where oftentimes it's the stuff that, like you were talking about earlier, that you don't want to do. Where with me, it was just something simple like the nighttime supplements, like with the magnesium last night and the night before, right when me and Megan were going to bed. You just have those thoughts where it's like, oh, do I really want to? Like, it's something simple. It's not even that big of an act, but do I want to fill a glass of water and like pour some powder in it and then slam it down real quick? And
Yeah.
that, but I've noticed that, well, since I've had those nights like last week where I forced myself to do it, the last 2 nights, it's like I don't even give myself a chance to like
Talk
focus
yourself
on
out.
those thoughts. I just, yeah, you just get
Yeah.
it done. And
Yeah.
it's just that you're improving and changing your brain, and you're not falling back into the same patterns that you have done in the past.
Exactly. Because if last night you would have said, fuck it, I don't really want to do it, I'm just gonna go to
Yeah.
sleep, you're more likely the next night to have that same thing, or just more frequently. Once you allow yourself to start skipping, especially the easy stuff, especially the stuff that you really don't have to go out of your way for. It's just a tiny inconvenience, if that. If you're allowing yourself to slip on those things, then you're going to allow the things that are more effort and more legwork, you're going to allow yourself to kind of skip out on those things as well. And so kind of, like I said, it comes down to not giving yourself the choice. If it's something that you need to be doing that is moving you in the right direction, don't give yourself the choice to not do it. Especially if it's something super simple like that. And those little wins like that add up. And even just you getting up to go make something that literally takes all but 30 seconds to get up, go to the kitchen and do that, maybe 60 seconds. But you still feel good about that decision, even though it's such a trivial thing. You can be like, I didn't really want to do it, but I did it. And that's a positive thing. And then that snowballs into more things like that. Because it just reinforces, I didn't want to do it, I did it, and I feel better because of it. And then eventually you start wanting to do that. It becomes much easier. You don't really have that option on the table to not do that stuff. I kind of think about it like this. For my dog, he's always sick with bullshit. And like right now he's got, he chewed through his paw, kind of like a hotspot situation on his foot from allergies. And so now he's on an antibiotic in the morning, Apoquil for allergies. Like it's more like extensive than like a Benadryl type thing would be. So he's doing that in the morning. Then he has conjunctivitis in his eye. So essentially pink eye in both eyes. So I have to give him eye drops in the morning and at night. And then I have to give him a 5-minute foot soak in some blue solution shit mixed with water every day. So none of those things are a huge deal, but do I want to do any of that shit? Obviously not. But for the betterment of him, for him to actually be able to recover, for him to not lose that foot, I got to do that stuff. Like, do I want to do any of that? No, but to me, there's no option. He has to take these things, so he's going to go do it. Well, I feel like people, when it comes to their own habits and their own body and their own health, everything's just pushed off to tomorrow. And if you do that for months and for years and for decades, eventually you're fucked in one way, shape, or form. When all it took was just, I mean, I even with the shit that I got going on, I'm not saying my life is any harder than anybody else's, but with a 40-hour work week plus 20 to 40 hours of working with TLF, plus getting in family time and dog time and sleep and all that stuff and gym time for myself as well, I still manage to find free time. Like I can still have a good amount of balance and still do all the shit that I want to do. It just comes down to, having systems in place and being consistent with certain things, making some things super efficient, delegating other things if I can't do it. But ultimately there's shit that it has to get done that I make sure it gets done regardless of what I want to do. And because of that leads me to feeling better. The post I made tonight on Instagram and Facebook, the first little paragraph sounded kind of conceited, but essentially I was saying, I love that every vacation I've ever went on, I wasn't held back. I wasn't held back from taking my shirt off at the beach, or even just having that mental thought of like struggling with that. And so many people have that, or I see a big ass mountain and I'm excited to go climb that. But if I was completely out of shape, if I felt like shit, no, what I'm probably going to do on vacation, like majority of people, which I'm still going to do this thing, but I'm going to balance that out with the exercise and with the adventure and stuff like that is, most people, they go to Colorado, they're going to go hit some breweries, they're going to go do shit like that, which is fantastic, wonderful, great. But like, I like the challenge with it as well. I see a big mountain, I want to go climb it. I see, we see ruins in Mexico. We want to go climb that shit and act like kids and stuff on it. Well, if we were sick, totally out of shape, we couldn't physically go do that stuff because we don't walk more than 3,000 steps a day here at home. Well, then we're missing out on so much adventure. You know what I mean? Like, Blake, you were at Mexico. We got to go do a bunch of fun shit. And if we, at least semi-active here at home, we wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff. And I want to be able to do that explore for the rest of my life and stuff. And so what my post was talking about is that all of my daily actionable items, they don't just make me feel good today and feel accomplished today. I know that it's for the bigger picture. It's for the longevity of it. It's where I want to be at in a year from now, and 5 years from now, and 10 years from now, and 30 years from now. And if I live a sedentary life right now, well, then when I retire and I have time to go explore the world, I'm not going to have the energy. My body's not going to really allow me to go do that stuff. And then what's the point of any of this shit, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But anyway, I just got on a tangent about all that shit. Anybody have any questions? Blake, do you got any more questions for me at the moment? I'm excited for your check-in tomorrow.
One will come to me. That was the main one I had, but you answered it perfectly. That helped a lot.
How do you, man? And again, what Blake did last week is what so many people don't do, and that is when you're needing. And actually, I read your check-in and I was like, hey, I want to hop on a phone call. It was just going to be easier than me having to type out all that stuff. But if I'm reaching out to you guys for phone calls, which I do to a lot of people, and I get ghosted, mainly it's because people don't want to truly be accountable. It's easy to hide behind a computer screen and just type some shit. But then to actually be accountable on a phone call is much, much more difficult and uncomfortable. But again, uncomfortable areas is where we grow. You know, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing whatsoever, whether that's in the gym or that's in life, or whatever the case is. So Blake, I commend you for hopping on the phone call, being completely vulnerable and opening up about certain things, because that obviously leads to, you know, last week was a so-so week. This week was a great week. And if you hadn't had that phone call, if you hadn't had that kind of refocusing or answering of questions, you might not have had this kind of successful week, you know, and you might be kind of stuck in the last few weeks as you move on for the next few months. So good job with that. Anybody else though? Got a handful of people on here. If you guys have any other questions, just kind of pipe up. Otherwise, I do have one question. I haven't even read it yet. Let's see here. I can't make the Zoom call, but have a question for you to answer on it. How do you plan for meals out when meals out weren't planned? So I would assume in this situation, I know this guy, he runs a business, a financial business of some sort, and I know he meets, obviously, you know, different clients out, different work functions and things like that. So I assume what he's saying is like, you know, you enter into the week, you already know that you're going out to eat on Thursday, you know, you're having a cheat meal on Saturday, whatever the case is. But in this situation, oh shit, I just got a meeting planned out and I've got to go meet, you know, a client or somewhere at a restaurant. What do I do in that situation? Because obviously you don't want to be the weird one and just sitting there not eating anything or drinking anything. Number one, ideally, I think this is a big problem, especially amongst like professionals, is choosing to get a drink because the other person's getting a drink. Now, I don't have to do all these meetings and stuff, so I don't know exactly what that looks like, but to me, it shouldn't make a huge deal if you get water instead of alcohol like you may have used to. Definitely not soda or anything like that. There's absolutely no point to it, other than the little bit of taste you're going to get from it. Once you get rid of that shit, it's easy to keep it out. You just got to commit to actually cutting it out. I made that decision literally when I was in 7th grade and haven't had pop by choice since then. So that's one thing, you know, drinks like that. But then outside of that, you know, food wise, if you didn't already kind of plan it out, you got a couple different choices with it. Let's say it's lunchtime and you still have dinner time and you're going to have higher fat meal, like at dinner time, which I usually kind of try to plan out for people, you know, maybe some ground beef with some avocado or something else later on that night. Then this meal, maybe you make that your higher fat meal. And then at nighttime, you go with chicken or something leaner and stuff like that. So you can kind of fit that into it. You know, maybe you choose to just do a salad. If you do a salad, always get dressing on the side. Pretty much anytime you can, if something comes with sauce or dressing or gravy or something of that nature, or syrups, get that shit on the side. That way you can add what you need for the taste factor of it, but not be overwhelmed with the sauce, because whatever sauces that you're having out or dressings, people are always so shocked when they actually like MyFitnessPal, what's all in a Caesar salad. I love Caesar salad. It's my favorite salad ever. When I'm eating out, it's my cheat meal, I'm rocking a Caesar salad. But the other nights though, I'm not going to get Caesar because I know that dressing is going to be super high fat, just like ranch, going to be super high fat. Chick-fil-A, the sauce there, it's like 15 grams of fat for the little 2 or 3 tablespoons you get in the little packets. I mean, that's the same amount as like olive oil, but olive oil is much healthier, obviously. So for his situation though, number one, if it makes sense, make it your cheat meal for the week and control the rest of the meals. If that doesn't make sense for you and you don't want to waste your cheat meal on this work outing or whatever the case is, then let's try to choose a leaner option with it. So really, if you go to a normal restaurant, you're usually going to be able to get some sort of grilled chicken or salmon or steak even. And that's not really going to be a cheat meal with it. Understand they will be adding most likely butters or oils when they're cooking this stuff. They're trying to make it tasty so you come back, not give you a bunch of dried out stuff. But so kind of keep that in mind as well, that fat's gonna be a little bit higher. So then I would just remove some of your fat sources kind of the rest of the day. And then if you get something with higher carbs in it, obviously just adjust your meals the rest of the day. Now, let's say that this wasn't a lunch outing or this wasn't a breakfast outing and it was a dinner. I would likely do the same thing. But if you've already had a majority of your carbs and fats for the day, if you're going to go over a little bit, it's okay. You shouldn't be, you most likely are not having a bunch of unplanned meals all throughout the week. This should be a one-off situation once a week or once every few weeks or once a month or whatever the case is. And if you are having multiple 2, 3, 4, 5 meals that are completely unplanned out, depending on your situation, I would assume that you're not very planned. You're not very organized. You don't have any systems in place. You are just saying yes to fucking everything instead of having balance and prioritizing your goals in that. So you shouldn't be having a whole lot of unplanned events out. And if you have a handful of events for that week, yes, it's going to be a little more challenging, but that doesn't mean that you can't make progress with it. So don't go for the mac and cheese on the side. Go with leaner options. If you're doing breakfast outing, which probably doesn't happen a whole lot for professionals and stuff like that, but choose an egg white omelet. Get any sort of that sauce stuff on the side, instead of bacon. Maybe if they have turkey bacon, fantastic. Again, just these small little tweaks just to make things a little bit more calorie balanced out. Hopefully that kind of answered his question with it. Also, stay away from like deep fried stuff as well. If maybe you have some carbs that you want to use up for it, don't get the French fries that are now deep fried in oils. Get the baked potato with all the fixings on the side so you can just add sparingly. Or most places, again, restaurants are going to have steamed veggies is usually an option. I mean, over the past 20 years or so, there's been a higher degree of a health kick for the most part. So pretty much anywhere you go to is going to have healthy choices. Even if you go to McDonald's, I don't even know what the menu looks like, but I know that there are healthier choices on there. So make those choices unless you want it to just be your cheat meal. Go for it and get whatever you want. Anybody else? I got 2 iPhones on here. No idea who you guys are. You guys got any questions? Fantastic. If you're just listening, fantastic. That was the only other question I had on here. Well, anyway, if nobody else has any questions, though, that's really all I had for you guys tonight. It was just a short little Q&A. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to throw out there. I also we had a mom's call. I mean, ultimately it's a parent's call, but specifically a mom's call on April 19th. So about 3 weeks from now. I actually had to move that back 1 week. So we're going to be doing that on whatever the next Wednesday is. I think it's April 26th is now going to be that mom's call at 7 p.m. So if you're a mom or a parent, whatever, or anybody on here that just wants to be on that call, I think it'd be really, really beneficial for you to hear it. I feel like we're all either parents here, going to be parents, or, in the future at some point it's going to happen. So I think that'd be a good call for a lot of you guys, put a lot of things in perspective. And or allow you to give yourself some grace. I feel like moms are really hard on themselves in some ways. So that'll be a good call for everybody, though. Aside from that, though, I don't think I have anything else for you. So if you guys don't have any other questions, then I'm gonna go knock out some laundry. All right, cool. All right, well, Blake, thank you for your questions, brother. Have a good time, whatever you're doing. So you're going out to eat or drink, whatever the case is. Obviously, make good, balanced choices. And if you end up going wild tonight, then that's your cheat meal, and that sucks because tomorrow is check-in day. So make mindful choices, get water, chug that shit. And yeah, you guys have a fantastic week. I will see you guys on check-in day tomorrow. Also, the custom meal planner is getting closer and closer to being done. I'm really excited for that. I've sent out to a couple of my female clients here kind of what that's going to look like. So I'm super pumped to kind of get that chipped away and knocked out. But anyway, though, you guys have a wonderful wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you guys later.